Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm sorry, this was a little confusing. I wanted to get started on the reactions because we had some videos drop, but I said, you know what? Let's go to this breaking news because we've been keeping our eye out and we need to make sure that we are staying up to date and current on all of the events. Okay. It's a news day. Okay, it's a news day, it's a reaction day, it's everything. So let's get into it, guys. You guys did hear this update first over here on this channel. Um, and CBS affiliate in Detroit dropped and confirmed all that we'd already been told hours ago, but hey, it's official. Okay, welcome to everyone coming in. Welcome, 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 welcome. I know that I am probably running short on notifications and it's going to have to just be all right. This afternoon, after I get boo boo from school around 5:30, we will get into, I know phone calls from prison dropped a bunch of stuff. Plus we're waiting on our legal mail. We don't have to, we're not going to be, we don't have to watch anybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, girl, we got our own legal mail coming. Don't worry about it, baby. We got our own legal mail coming. That's why we're going to do these news updates first. And we're going to handle this legal mail situation. Um, okay. You guys already heard this, but let's go ahead and make sure that we've got everything memorialized, because this is a case that we are following and have been following, right? Make sure to go ahead and tap in on your way in. But you guys, question. Oh, somebody from the bushes asked a question. I'll have to answer her back. She says, "When will the Ernest Williams trial get started?" Baby, that's going to be my answer. Baby, baby. I don't know. Soon. We have a date on the calendar for June. Okay. Ernest Williams, June. Right now, I cannot. I don't know. We know that the next court date is in June, and June is coming sooner than we think. Okay. Um, so I'll answer that question real quick. But let's see what they had to say about Jarvis Butts. And if you guys were watching earlier in the week, you remember Kelli had court, right? Kelli had court, and the judge said, "We'll see you back on Friday because we need to finish this business." So I just noticed that that information was posted. So let's get into both of those. Then I will handle my mom business and then we will get it popping this afternoon and try to make it through all the wonderful phone calls that are awesome, awesome friends at phone calls from prison dropped for us so we would never forget that Sonia runs her mouth. Oh my God. Oh my God. That lady can run her mouth like nobody else, like nobody else's business. All right. Let's see. Let's get over here real quick and get this Jarvis Butts update. You guys, if you were live with me earlier, you already got the update. We already know what's going on. But the CBS affiliate in D Town in Detroit, I was about to say I said D Town, but I don't know what's the nickname for Detroit. We already have this. Let's see. The beautiful Miss Lauren Winfrey with the beautiful braids. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see what Miss Winfrey has to say. Okay. Okay. Let's see what Miss Lauren has to say.
Where Jarvis Butts, the man charged with sexual started in Wayne County, where Jarvis Butts, the man charged with sexually assaulting and killing 13-year-old Naziah Harris, was back in court today. Our Jordan Burroughs was inside the courtroom and joins us now with a recap of today's proceedings.
Today at the Wayne County Criminal Justice Center, Judge Nicholas Hathaway laid out dates in the Jarvis Butts case. Butts is accused of murdering 13-year-old Naziah Harris last year. His jury selection is scheduled to start October 6th. Jarvis Butts was in court Friday to hear Judge Nicholas Hathaway decide key dates in his trial. The defense and prosecution both agreed on the dates as they await the full transcript to be typed out so they can read it over. Butts was previously in court January 17th for a hearing where he entered a not guilty plea. At that hearing, just like Friday's, Neziah Harris's family and friends were present. Butts, 42 years old, of Detroit, is charged with first-degree premeditated murder, second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and child sexually abusive activity. Butts is also accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Neziah. She was last seen getting off her school bus at the corner of Cornwall and 3 Mile Drive in Detroit on January 9th of last year. Her body has not been found. As jury selection starts October 6th, the prosecution said it could call 40 or more witnesses to the stand, and the defense said it could call 10 or more. It's a trial that could take 3 to 4 weeks.
I'm hopeful that you're going to have that transcript here, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Obviously, with that trial date being in October, we have some time to work with. But I'd like to see you all again for final conference.
Today's calendar conference also laid out another key date, which includes the last conference. That will be on Friday, June 20th. Reporting from the Wayne County Criminal Justice Center, Jordan Burrows, CBS News, Detroit.
Okay, so we'd gotten that information earlier. Thank you to our wonderful plug over at the Wayne County Courthouse who got us that information. So that was good to know. And look at Jarvis looking still contrite. I don't know if he's embarrassed. I don't know what in the face mask is going on. I know a lot of you have said he should be required to take his face mask off, that he should deal with what he needs to deal with, considering, you know what I'm saying? Like he had his full chest out to do whatever he did out here in the world, and now he's behind bars and being held to account, and now he's showing up everywhere with a face mask like he's shy or something, and we know he's not. Okay. Girl, no, the plug did not. Girl, I don't want, there are people out here, I'm sure, searching for a good plug, but baby, no ma'am. No ma'am. Okay, so Jarvis did go to court. We knew it was a calendar conference, which means they were putting dates on the calendar. He showed up in court. They talked about the transcript. I guess let's listen to it a little bit again. We heard about a transcript is getting ready to be made available. I guess they want to be able to go line by line through the preliminary. That's going to help the defense map out their case. I mean, obviously the prosecution knows what they're going to be doing. Obviously, I'm sure they're going to be distributing discovery and all the case information, all of the evidence that they need to prosecute the case, but also what the defense will need to defend themselves. But as far as the transcript from the preliminary hearing, I guess that's at issue, and it's currently being prepared. What else did they say?
In the Jarvis Butts case, Butts is accused of murdering 13-year-old Neziah Harris last year. His jury selection is scheduled to start October 6th. Jarvis Butts was in court Friday to hear Judge Nicholas Hathaway
he looks a hot mess. Okay.
Decide key dates in his trial. The defense.
Let me just say this. Yesterday, there was a lot of talk on YouTube and, the family drama that's going on. We're not going to talk too much about that right now. We've talked about it this morning. We talked about it yesterday. When I go live, well, if we have some time when this is over, I know a couple people wanted to say some things. So let's finish this up and we'll go over to Kelli, Bryant, and then I'll drop the link if any of you guys want to call in real quick. We definitely have some time to talk about that this afternoon. But yeah, things are underway. And the fact that they already have trials scheduled in this year is really good. So unless there's some major delays, I mean, at this point, sir might just realize it's over. So I don't know if it's even worth his team trying to delay things. I'm not saying that they are, but they could try. And maybe maybe he's just accepting his fate. I mean, he might just be what they call, we used to call back in the day, cold busted. You know what I mean? He might just be, they have a lot of evidence, and it sounds like they said they were going to call potentially 40 witnesses.
And prosecution both agreed on the dates as they await the full transcript to be typed out so they can read it over. Butts was previously in court January 17th for a hearing where he entered a not guilty plea. At that hearing, just like Friday's, Naziah Harris's family and friends were present. Butts, 42 years old, of Detroit, is charged with first-degree premeditated murder, second-degree criminal sexual conduct, and child sexually abusive activity. Butts is also accused of having an inappropriate relationship with Naziah. She was last seen getting off her school bus at the corner of Cornwall and 3 Mile Drive in Detroit on January 9th of last year. Her body has not been found. As jury selection starts October 6th, the prosecution said it could call 40 or more witnesses to the stand, and the defense said it could call 10 or more. It's a trial that could take 3 to 4 weeks.
I'm hopeful that you're going to have that transcript here, hopefully within the next couple of weeks. Obviously, with that trial date being in October, we have some time to work with. But I'd like to see you all again for final conference.
Today's calendar conference also laid out another key date, which includes the last conference. That will be on Friday, June 20th. Reporting from the Wayne County Criminal Justice Center, Jordan Burroughs, CBS News.
Okay, let's go over here. I just want to point something out. You see Tina Ripley right here. Tina is the same prosecutor who is working on which case, guys? Do you guys remember Tina Ripley? We saw her earlier this week for who? Brandy Pierce. Brandy Pierce, the mom of Zamar Pierce, the young man whose remains were found at the rental property when mom went and took off to damn Wisconsin, Illinois, and Georgia. Okay. So yes, Tina Ripley is a very busy lady. That is her right there with the long brown hair, if you recognize her. Okay, let's pivot real quick, y'all. Let me see if I have, let me take this down real quick. We'll just go over here. All right, guys. Just a second. Are we here? Okay, let me pivot to this one. Okay. Let's go here. And we are back in court. Kelli Marie Bryant. Kelli Marie Bryant is the Pontiac mom who left her kids to fend for themselves for a very long time. Okay. What they say could have been up to 5 years, just something absolutely insane. Hard to conceptualize that someone would leave small children by themselves for so long. But ma'am is back in court. She was in court earlier this week, but they did not have all of the discovery transferred over to her attorney, and they recalled to come back to court on this day. Okay, let's get into it, guys. When do they? You know why that is not showing people on screen? Can make me a co-host also. It's a little low. Hopefully, it's gonna. Okay, trying again. Okay, Judge. Transparency, I believe we're ready. Calling People versus Kelli Bryant, case number 250216FY.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kanika Ferenczi on behalf of the people.
And good afternoon, Your Honor. Cecilia Carantago up here on behalf and with Kelli Bryant. She is present from the Oakland County Jail on Zoom, and we have no objection to Zoom, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Kelli Bryant.
Thank you. This is the time and date set that the court scheduled for defendant's motion to modify the bond and for a reasonable bond. Ms. Carandongo, you did submit a supplemental pleading. And just to clarify, it references a letter to the court. There was only one letter that you submitted, correct?
Your Honor, this morning, so I obtained a letter from a community support that was sent in a separate email to the court, not into the court file. And then there was also a letter in regards to the medical condition
I have
that
both
my
of
client
those.
has that was set
I
separate. So
have
there
both
should
of
be one
those.
handwritten. Okay, perfect. All right. Yep. Okay.
Ms.
Yep. There was
Ferenczi,
just the one.
Ms. Ferenczi, you received those as well?
Yes, Your Honor, I received all those documents this morning.
All right. At this point, the court is prepared to review the items that I had mentioned on the prior date, which were those things that I will address or attempt to address, the factors to determine which pretrial release option is appropriate and under what terms and conditions. I had indicated on the prior date, I'm looking at the defendant's, if any, prior criminal record, any record of appearance or non-appearance, any history of substance abuse, mental condition, the seriousness of the offense charged, the employment history, any financial history as it relates to ability to post bail, the availability of a responsible member or members of the community who would vouch for and monitor the defendant, any facts showing community ties, family relationships, also the length of residence, and any other factors bearing on the risk of appearance or danger to the public. Ms. Kirandando, anything you wanted to add that the court did not already have at arraignment?
Well, at arraignment, I think pretrial services verified Ms. Bryant's information, but quite frankly, I mean, many of the things that were put in the motion and the supplement were that was added information. I think the court was somewhat concerned about being able to verify the information. I attempted to do that.
You guys, hold on. I think I found a audio, a little better audio. So hold on a second.
Calling People versus Kelli.
Yes, better audio, right?
0216FY.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Kanika Ferenczi on behalf of the people.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Cecilia Carantago up here on behalf and with Kelli Bryant. She is present from the Oakland County Jail on Zoom, and we have no objection to Zoom, Your Honor.
Thank you, Ms. Bryant. Would you state your name for the record, please?
Kelli Bryant.
Thank you. This is the time and date set that the court scheduled for defendant's motion to modify the bond and for a reasonable bond. Ms. Kirandongo, you did submit a supplemental pleading. And just to clarify, it references a letter to the court. There was only one letter that you submitted, correct?
Your Honor, this morning, so I obtained a letter from a community support that was sent in a separate email to the court, not into the court file. And then there was also a letter in regards to the medical condition that my client has that was set separate. So there should be one handwritten. Okay, perfect. Yeah. All right. Yep. Okay.
Ms. Ferenczi,
yep, there was just the one.
Ms. Ferenczi, you received those as well?
Yes, Your Honor, I received all those documents this morning.
All right. At this point, the court is prepared to review the items that I had mentioned on the prior date, which were those things that I will address or attempt to address.
Guys, let me interrupt real quick, say one thing. Okay, so this is the hearing. This is Judge Walker. This is the hearing for Kelli Marie Bryant. Let me fix that spelling. Kelli Marie Bryant. She is the Pontiac, Michigan mommy who had her house, had the children in the house for years alone. She was over there, you know, living her best life without the children. So this is Kelli Marie Bryant. She is in a Oakland County jail. Ma'am is facing 3 felony child abuse charges and up to a life sentence in prison with a $250 million bond. Judge Walker is reviewing it today, but the person who is sitting in court at this moment is Kelli Marie Bryant. I did make a playlist. We talked about her earlier this week. She is that mom. She's minus her lace front wig, so maybe that's why some of you are not recognizing ma'am. Let me see. Let me pull her up real quick. For those of you who are like, now who? Now wait a second, who that? It's guys, it's Kelli Marie Bryant. Okay, where's Kelli? Let me see. Girl, where is Miss Kelli? Okay, here we go. Okay, hold on a second. This is Kelli over here. You know who Kelli is now?
Right. Every bed bug bomb.
Y'all should know who I'm talking about now.
Y'all got to take them things.
This is the mom who abandoned her kids. She would send them with a loaf of bread. She would drop off bread. They were, they were not eating. They were not being cared for. She basically abandoned the children. So that's ma'am with her wig, and baby, she's in court now without her wig. Okay. I do have a playlist, and this will be in the playlist. Okay. This is ma'am's second or third. She had her arraignment. Everything's in the playlist. So every court appearance is in this playlist. I will make sure to drop it for you guys if you guys want to get caught up. She's just now starting the process. So let's get back into it. I'm going to interrupt minimally, and then we'll go back and plow through and see what we missed and talk about what we need to talk about. Okay. Yes. Let's get back into it. Sound is much better on this.
I have
Here we go.
has that was set separate, so there should be one handwritten. Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Yep. Okay.
Ms.
Yep, that was just the one.
Ms. Ferenczi, you received those as well?
Yes, Your Honor, I received all those documents this morning.
All right. At this point, the court is prepared to review the items that I had mentioned on the prior date, which were those things that I will address or attempt to address, the factors to determine which pretrial release option is appropriate and under what terms and conditions. I had indicated on the prior date, I'm looking at the defendant's, if any, prior criminal record, any record of appearance or non-appearance, any history of substance abuse, mental condition, the seriousness of the offense charged, the employment history, any financial history as it relates to ability to post bail, the availability of a responsible member or members of the community who would vouch for and monitor the defendant, any facts showing community ties, family relationships, also the length of residence, and any other factors bearing on the risk of appearance or danger to the public. Ms. Kirandando, anything you wanted to add that the court did not already have at arraignment?
Well, at arraignment, I think pretrial services verified Ms. Bryant's information, but quite frankly, many of the things that were put in the motion and the supplement that was added information. I think the court was somewhat concerned about being able to verify the information. I attempted to do that. In the supplement I submitted to the court, I listed all of those factors that the court just mentioned on the record. and listed, I guess what's favorable to my client and what's not, and also how that information was verified. So if the court would like me to, I can go through, those factors. Again, as I had mentioned before, both at arraignment and I think also in the first written motion and then in my supplement, I think for Ms. Bryant, we all know the court can't deny bond, so I think everybody's agreeing with that. And then it comes down to whether, essentially a cash bond is appropriate at all, or if it should be a recognizance bond with some type of conditions. And I know the people, will argue that it should be a cash bond. My position is that the only time that the court could do a cash bond is if the court finds either that she's a flight risk or that she poses a danger to the community at large. If the court would like me to, I can go through all the factors that I mentioned and information.
Let me interrupt you, Ms. Kirandago, because one of the main things that was of concern at arraignment was the lack of a stable address for Ms. Bryant. That was one of the things that was the focus of the arraigning judge.
That's correct, Your Honor. And Ms. Bryant has a stable residence. She had a stable residence before that, her arrest as well. Now, of course, there's additional concerns because of the publicity that this particular case has received. So Ms. Bryant would not, and I did provide also, I think prior to the last court hearing, the court with the address. And I indicated also who resides at that address for the court. I'm very concerned about putting any of that on the record, given, the kind of posture of this case. But that is with a family member who has also lifelong ties to the community. So Ms. Bryant does have a stable residence to go to. I have also spoken, to other family members, and I spoke to the person who provided a letter to the court, who is also a pillar of the community. Every one of them are willing to, to supervise and I shouldn't say, vouch, but make sure that Ms. Bryant gets to court. And I think, a tether could also assure all of that. The court would be aware 24/7 where Ms. Bryant is. So she was not transient. I know the previous judge made some statements that Ms. Bryant was transient. She was absolutely not transient. She was staying at a residence and had stayed there for quite some time. That is not a residence given the circumstances as they are right now that she would be returning to, and that is mainly due to the amount of publicity that this case has received. So of course now there's new concerns, but she absolutely does have a residence to return to, and I don't believe she was ever transient, Your Honor.
All right.
And I don't think there was any evidence of that either, quite frankly.
All right. As to residence, Ms. Ferenczi, is there any comment?
Yes, Your Honor, I would like to address residency, and then because I only received the supplemental motion this morning, I would like to respond to much of what was documented in that motion, Your Honor.
Okay.
But in regards to residence, what the people find troubling is that the individual that the defendant is being asked to be released to and reside with isn't the one that wrote the letter. That individual is not vouching for her, and I don't believe that that individual has appeared in court and is willing to provide that voucher to the court. That is a concern, and it actually speaks to the high level of instability for Ms. Bryant. A lot of the statements about her transient nature is in conflict with what she told police when she was interviewed. So I do find it troubling when the information is, at times it feels like it's self-serving for Ms. Bryant. I'm happy to address the other issues though, Your Honor, in the supplemental motion.
Your Honor, may I address that particular point that Ms. Ferenczi is making? So I will just tell the court, as an officer of the court, I've spoken to many of Ms. Bryant's family members. And here's the reality of things. The children, I think everybody has now known where the children are. And so the children are with family. And so it becomes a very, it becomes a very difficult balance as far as, supporting, sending letters. I had conversations with the individual whose address, was offered as a residence, and that individual wanted to talk to Ms. Bryant too. There are issues with setting up, phone accounts for the Oakland County Jail and actually establishing that communication, to be frank with the court. I spoke to that individual about a letter. When she spoke to me, and again, this is, as an officer of the court, when she spoke to me, she was absolutely willing to provide that letter, but there was also just a very short amount of time in which to accomplish that, and she had requested to speak with Ms. Bryant first on the phone. And it's my understanding that there was no previous, account set up for that, and there was 2 days to do it. So that's the reality of it. So it has nothing to do with the person not being willing to vouch for her. That person indicated to me that she absolutely would supervise Ms. Bryant and make sure, that she comes to court. But again, and I think that's the concern for the court, is that the court would like someone to say they're going to make sure she comes. And that brings me to some other things I put in my motion, which I don't think the people are disputing, that this young lady,
Let me stop you for a moment, because on the issue of where she will be staying, the court needs to be convinced that this is a stable residence. If there are any modifications to the bond where there's a potential that she could be released. I understand the nature of people being hesitant to come forward given the amount of publicity, but the court has to be convinced that Ms. Bryant would return to court and also that she will not be a danger. So go ahead, Ms. Kirandano.
Yes, so in regards to the return to court, Your Honor, which goes to the flight risk portion of, the bond factors that the court can consider, Ms. Bryant has no criminal history. So there's no history of her, appearing or not appearing in court at all, which means she has no history of failing to appear. She, and this information was verified by pretrial services. In addition to that, Ms. Bryant, and this is in the police report, so I don't think this is something that will be disputed by the people. Ms. Bryant, when she was contacted, so she was contacted by the Sheriff's Department and the officer in charge of this case in regards to this case once the children had been located, and she paid for a Lyft ride to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office to turn herself in to talk to the officers. I've been in practice for a number of years now, and I don't think I've ever had a client who actually paid for a share ride to go turn themselves into the Oakland County Jail, and she did that.
So it might be
After
simpler.
that-
It might be simpler if I go through the issues that I don't believe are in dispute. One, the fact that Ms. Bryant turned herself in after being contacted. I don't believe that that is in dispute.
It's not, Your Honor.
That's correct, Your Honor. The only issue that I would argue that is in dispute, her ability to cooperate with law enforcement.
Understood. Let me finish
ensure-
going through the items that I'm looking at. There is not a prior criminal record.
We do not dispute that.
All right. There is no record of prior non-appearance or flight to avoid prosecution.
That's understood, yes.
Okay. So the issues that the court needs to hear about are, and the court is already aware of the seriousness of the offense charged, and that is certainly something the court will be taking into consideration in modifying any bond. But we have not heard regarding the employment status, financial history as it relates to an ability to post, ties to the community, ties to family members, and the residency is still an issue. So Ms. Kirandano, if you can address those matters.
Yes, Your Honor. So in regards to the personal circumstances, which I think addresses many of those issues, Ms. Bryant does have a mental health diagnosis. This is reflected in the police report, and I'll tell the court I did submit a subpoena for her records for CNS, which I noted in my supplement that that's where she was going. I gave the court the name of her case manager for treatment too. It's not enough time to get those records, but this was noted. I also believe it might have been noted in in the pretrial services report
It is.
right now. I believe so, and that information was verified, I believe, by her father. So she wasn't receiving any medications, but she was receiving treatment. In regards to her physical health, which is one of the other considerations, I did provide the court with a letter that indicates a medical diagnosis for which she's supposed to be receiving infusions. The jail can't accommodate that. Ms. Bryant also was scheduled to have surgery, which that time has passed, but she has issues with which could be internal bleeding that was supposed to be addressed via surgery, and she hasn't been able to have that surgery. I again submitted a subpoena for those records. It's just simply not enough time for St. Joe's, but I did provide as much information as I could to the court on that. Ms. Bryant also, she is a lifelong resident of the city of Pontiac, which that was verified, I believe, by pretrial services. I also believe that the letter, the community support letter that I provided to the court indicates that that person is a resident of the city of Pontiac and has known Ms. Bryant since she was 14 years old. Also, her information in regards to being a Pontiac resident was verified by her father through pretrial services. I don't think there's a dispute that Ms. Bryant has lived in the city of Pontiac her whole life. She went to school in the city of Pontiac, and she's never left the city of Pontiac. So that indicates that she has strong ties to the community. I also believe that both the community support letter and also pretrial services, as well as information in the police report, indicate that she has family in the area. Her parents are here. I also indicated to the court that she has siblings in the city of Pontiac. She again has community support, which is not family.
Let me just say something. Miss Caragando, so her family, she's been here forever. How has she been here forever and ever? And I'm sorry, guys, I'm on mute, obviously, for a reason. So she's going on and on and on and on. Her lawyer doesn't know anything about a period, or, I mean, she just can't stop talking. But let me just say this. Where were all of these people when your kids were missing for 3 to 5 years? They really don't know how long. No one has seen these kids for 5 years. They said the girls have not left the house in 5 years. The boy left the house 2 times in 5 years. Hearing about your mother and your family ties in the city doesn't mean anything to me. Like as like an observer, or if I were part of that community, where are the grandparents that are like, where's your 3 kids? Where's the people who are like, hey sis, where's your 3 kids? Okay, let me go back on mute.
Family, but longtime family friend, who appears to be an upstanding member of the local community, who provided a letter to the court indicating that she was in support of Ms. Bryant. So she absolutely has community support. Again, it's a very difficult situation. So when I say community support, I want everybody to understand that that shouldn't mean that, we should be worried about the children, because everybody has made the children a priority. So I just, want the court to know that. But Ms. Bryant absolutely does have a lot of support in the community. In regards to substance abuse, there's no history of substance abuse for Ms. Bryant that I'm aware. It was not noted in any of the reports, and she has not indicated to me that she had a history of substance abuse or substance use. Even marijuana or alcohol. So I don't think that is something that should be of concern to the court. But again, if it was, the court could order her into testing to ensure that she's not using any illegal substances. That's a pretty standard condition of bond. Ms. Bryant also submitted in regards to income. Pretrial services report did note her past history of employment. I noted in my supplement that she was also, prior to her incarceration, she was employed. She was paid through the state of Michigan. I could not obtain that information because it's confidential information, and it was something that was shared with me a few days ago. So I was not able to obtain verification, but Ms. Bryant did inform me of who the person at the state of Michigan that was responsible for her was, and she provided me with that name. Unfortunately, it's a very common name within the Department of Health and Human Services, so I was not able to obtain specific information. She does have a pay stub. It's at the residence she was at. I made contact with the person who resides there. They were trying to locate the paperwork for me, but they were not able to locate it as of yesterday evening at 9 p.m. But she was employed, taking home about $800 a month. So that was what she was making at the time she became incarcerated. That amount of money a month would still make her indigent, which she's already been found to be, which goes to her ability to post a monetary bond. Oakland County appointed her an attorney because she didn't have the funds to hire one. So I think, but she did have employment, which is also something that ties her to the community. I just think her employment would not be enough, to post a monetary bail. Don't believe there's any family members that have funds. Like I said, they're all caring for the children, and that's financially stressful too. Nobody has money to post bond for her. At this time, I don't believe. The employment history, what was disclosed to pretrial services, was verified. Again, it appears that her father verified that information for pretrial services. And some of the other employment that she had was also, verified through the family court case. There was discussions about that. I'm not entirely sure if Ms. Ferenczi was on there when that took place, but it is also information that's been provided to the Department of Health and Human Services. The risk to the community, that's one of the factors the court must take into consideration as well. And again, the chance of her reappearing, I wanted to just address that briefly. The court could address that by placing her in a steel cuff tether that she can't remove from her leg. The court would be aware at all times where she is. If she failed to appear, the tether would indicate where she is. But again, Ms. Bryant.
Someone said heifer breathe. Okay. It's like, look, I can't look after we saw Crea Lewis's performance with Nesto. I mean, at least ma'am is trying. Ma'am is really, she's talking her literally. She gets the talking her ass off award today because my God, it's like she went to the Sonia Durham School of Law. Now I don't want to be disrespectful because this lady is an officer of she's a legit officer of the court. But damn it, she at least attended the Sonia Durham Library at the whatever School of Law, because ma'am does not take a breath. She doesn't. But I'm going to give her, she tried that. We're going to see how it turns out, but I'm going to just give her, she tried that, because my God, she has not stopped. She's a free lawyer, not girl. Ma'am is lawyering, okay? She is not playing. She said I might be free, but I'm gonna plead your case, okay? All right. Let's we just had to take a little break for a second. My God.
And turned herself in.
The judge even said, you know what? I'm gonna just let her talk, okay?
And actually was inquiring, and I think that people would agree as to the charges she was facing. She knew she was potentially facing serious charges. She's aware. I've met with her probably 10 times at this point. She knows what she's facing. I don't have any reason to believe she has nowhere else to go. So she's a Pontiac resident. She's been here her whole life. And I think if she wanted to flee the state or go somewhere, she'd have done that, already, I think, because she was again not apprehended.
So I'm going to allow the prosecutor to respond to what you have said so far, but I will change a couple of things or modify. You indicated that pretrial services had verified her employment. That's not what the report reflects. It reflects that the defendant reported she had been unemployed since August of 2024. No sources of, no sources of income were reported. Prior to that, she indicated where she had been working for about a month. So I realize that you are saying you have not had an opportunity to get all of that confirmation, but that you have been seeking it. Ms. Ferenczi?
Thank you, Your Honor. Your Honor, as the court has already noted, the allegations and charges in this case are very serious. Defendant, as the court is well aware, is being charged with 3 counts of child abuse, first degree. and there is a very high likelihood of conviction, the people are happy to provide any facts or evidence if the court would like to hear it. And the initial guidelines call for significant jail time. Your Honor, as I already indicated, the people do not dispute that Ms. Bryant turned herself in and that she cooperated with law enforcement. But as the court is also aware, that does not equate any sort of assurances that she will appear in court. In regards to the mental health diagnoses and that she was being treated by CNS, there's no proof of a diagnosis, nor were any dates provided to confirm that this is accurate. The people at this point do not believe the defendant is a reliable source of information. She has a history of concealing and deceiving. That is what we have here, Your Honor. And without any sort of proof, I do not believe that the court can use that as accurate information. In regards to defendant's physical health, again, there was no verification of this medical condition. What was provided was a treatment plan from the clinic at Oakland County Jail. And it seems like she is receiving that treatment that is necessary at the clinic. The clinic deems is necessary. There was an additional allegation that the defendant needed transfusions and a possible procedure, again, not supported by documentation. But Your Honor, regardless of that situation, I would be hard pressed not to address the reason why we're here today. The reason we're here today is because defendant did not provide her own children, the victims here, with basic medical care, basic needs for years. And this irony of her condition right now is not lost on me. And it seems like she can and is being treated appropriately at the clinic at the county jail. Your Honor, in regards to Ms. Bryant's employment history, again, no proof was provided about her employment status. And as the court has already highlighted, the information that was provided has not been confirmed even with pretrial services. So again, the people do have the concern that defendant is not a reliable source of information. What the people can confirm is that Ms. Bryant abandoned her children, or the victims in this case, in an unlivable residence where several rent payments lapsed. In regards to defendant's ties to the community and the support alleged in the supplemental motion, upon information and belief, the statements that Ms. Bryant had made to the police are quite the opposite regarding her level of support. Again, she has a history of deceiving those who were attempting to support her for years. And it is difficult for me to imagine that all of her beliefs about her alleged support systems have completely changed within 2 weeks of her being in custody. And honestly, it does feel self-serving, Your Honor. The letter that was provided to strengthen her community support argument was not, again, as the court has already heard, was not from the individual who she is requesting to be released to and reside with. That individual in the letter wants to remain anonymous. How is that considered a voucher or a support for the defendant? In the letter, the individual does not make any statements about how they intend to assist the defendant if she were released, and when the last time they even spoke. That individual also admits that the defendant lied about the victim's whereabouts. They also stated the defendant knew that this individual was there if she needed help, but defendant never reached out. This is all very troubling to the people, and it is telling about the serious instability of defendant's support and her willingness to rely on that support. No one is willing to vouch for the defendant. Your Honor, in regards to defendant's potential flight risk, the people do believe the defendant is a potential flight risk with the level of local and national attention and her lack of community ties and stable housing. Most importantly, we believe that she does pose a danger to the community, specifically the victims who are members of the community, who she egregiously and intentionally neglected for years. And one other point the people want to address is the risk of reoffending. The people do believe the risk of reoffending is high here. Again, in her own statements to the police, while she was cooperating with law enforcement, defendant was not accepting or acknowledging what she did, which places a high risk of reoffending. And Your Honor, our request has always remained the same. We are requesting a high cash bail, no cash surety, no 10% provision, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Kirindongo, this is your burden to modify the bond at this point. So any comments that are not repeating what you've already said, but anything else in conclusion to your argument?
I will try not to repeat myself, Your Honor. I just wanted to say that in regards to the bond amount or the kind of bond, quite frankly, the court would be much more assured of Ms. Bryant's appearance if the court was to do a surety bond, because it would involve potentially a bail bondsman who would also, in addition to any other supervision the court would order, would also be supervising her whereabouts. So actually asking for a cash only bond, I think on behalf of the people, for me, would be less of assurance of her, if that's what they're going to argue, of her appearing. A cash surety bond, on the other hand, would involve another party being a bail bondsman. That all being said, Your Honor, I think I provided a lot of specificities in the information that I provided to the court. Reality of it is that, you can't get this information in writing in 2 days. Nobody ever has that information when a person is being arraigned at, first arraignment date. And, again, given the level of attention this case has received, it's been difficult. The person signed their name to the letter, so the court knows who this person is. And I think everybody can appreciate, given the level of attention this case has received, why people don't want to show up on screen here with all the cameras and the news. And, I don't think that that's anything that would be abnormal. That being said, I think if the court was to follow the bond statute, again, Ms. Bryant's bond, I don't believe should be a cash bond. It should be a recognizance bond with conditions, which as I indicated, could include a steel cuff tether, pretrial supervision, mental health treatment, drug screens. And, all of those things would assure her reappearance and would also assure that the court knows where she is. So I'm asking based on that. And I think, in regards to reoffending, we know who the complaining witnesses were. I don't believe there's any risk of reoffending. The children, again, would not be in Ms. Bryant's care.
All right, thank you. At this point, the court did set this for a separate hearing in order to review whether there should be a modification of the bond. And as I indicated, the party seeking the modification had the burden of going forward with this. So the real question for the court is there a substantial reason to modify the original bond as set? Now, the purpose of the bond and pretrial release conditions are to ensure the defendant's return to court and also the protection of the public and alleged victims in the case. The purpose of the bond is certainly not to punish, even though this is an extremely high impact case. There is much interest in the outcome of this case and in the bond. But the law is very clear that with certain exceptions, a criminal defendant is entitled, as a matter of constitutional right, to have a reasonable bond or bail established for pretrial release. Cash bond is permissible if the defendant's appearance or the protection of the public cannot otherwise be assured. The court recognizes that this bond review hearing was set in a fairly short period of time, and some of the information that I requested, according to defense counsel, could not be provided within this time. I'll also note that the principal charges in this case are felonies, but not strictly assaulted crimes under the court rule. So at this point, I have reviewed all of the factors that the court is to take into consideration in determining the proper bail. The court has also reviewed the pretrial services report. In that report, there was still a question as to the residence. However, for purposes of going forward, we will use the address that is listed on the complaint and also in the pretrial services report. In terms of the mental health concerns, the court will address that as a condition of bond. I am still not satisfied that the court can at this point say that there is a guarantee of a return to court. The defendant has not been a flight risk in the past. However, the potential penalty in this case is quite high given the nature of the charge. The protection of the public and the victims is also a concern, and I do share some of the concerns that were mentioned by the arraigning judge in terms of the defendant's potential to reach out to the alleged victims, the children in the case, to try to influence any testimony, and I'm going to deal with that issue. So I realize that there may be a need to do further review of the bond, but I do find that the court has an obligation to set a reasonable bond, and the current bond amounts to a denial of bond. So what I'm going to do is modify based on the information that we have that is verified. So I'm going to modify the bond in this case. I'm still requiring a cash bond for purposes of ensuring that the defendant returns to court to give further support to protection of the public and to prevent reoffending. But I'm going to reduce the bond to a $50,000 cash bond at this point with the following conditions. The defendant will be on pretrial services supervision. There's to be no alcohol or illegal drug use, no possession of a weapon, no assaultive conduct of any sort while this case is pending, no contact with any child under the age of 18, absolutely no contact with the alleged victims in this case. That means no contact at all, including no personal contact, phone calls, text messages, no reaching out to parties who have control of those children right now, no contact with them whatsoever. I am going to impose a home confinement electronic monitoring device. The defendant may not leave home except for medical emergencies, court appearances, court-ordered testing. And if employment can be verified, it is not verified at this point, then seeking and maintaining employment. But at this point, that has not been verified. So I don't want there to be any confusion in indicating that the defendant can go to and from work. We need verification first. Any other travel will require permission of the court. No return to the address of the alleged incident. No return to the address of the alleged victim. Any changes of address would have to be provided to the court within 24 hours. Those would be the modifications to the bond at this point. Any questions as to what the court is requiring? And I will note that Ms. Bryant, be aware that if you violate any condition of release, you would be subject to arrest without a warrant and may have your bond forfeited, revoked, new conditions imposed in addition to any other penalties if you are found in contempt of court. Any questions, Ms. Kirandongo, as to what the court is requiring?
Just a clarification, so that's still no surety?
Correct. Ms. Ferenczi, any questions?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
And if, Ms. Kirandongo, as further information is received, I know you have subpoenaed some information, you can provide that to the court. The court is willing to do an individualized review later as well. And also, if I did not indicate, a mental health evaluation and following any treatment plans as a condition of bond, since mental health conditions were reported.
So she would be able to leave in order to get that accomplished, I'm guessing, correct, even though it's not a medical emergency. It would need to be a separate, I think, exception to the home confinement.
That would have to be something that pretrial services will be further involved in.
Thank you, Anna.
All right. Thank you. Ms. Ferenczi, any questions?
No, Your Honor, thank you.
All right. The next court date is scheduled for April 15th at 2 p.m. That will be on Zoom. If there is a need for some other review, I'm confident that the parties will raise that by motion.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, hold on a second. I feel like I'm hearing something. Where is this sound coming from? Okay. Anyway, what did you guys think of that? It was kind of a little bit like, okay, so she gave her
However,
$50,000. Where is my screen? I'm sorry, guys. I don't see where is my StreamYard? Oh, here it is. Okay. I was like, where's my StreamYard screen? My bad, y'all. Okay. She gave her $50,000 cash bond. Ma'am's still not getting out. I mean, that's a high bond for a lot of people. I don't know what ma'am was doing out in the world. It wasn't giving that she was making very much. Um so it's quite possible. And I mean, let's just be honest. So $250 million, I think, was a statement to the community of like, look, we hear you. It's disgusting. We're not happy with what she did. And basically, I think it was kind of a sign to the public. It has been lowered considerably, but $50,000 still may as well be $1 million. Nobody is coming with $50,000. If nobody could come to help take care of those kids for all these years, if the kids were an afterthought, if they saw Kelli and didn't see these kids for years and years and years and years and years, but she's still not getting out. You know what I mean? I think it's kind of a statement, because she's going to feel like, well, I didn't get a chance to get out, but no one's coming with $50,000. If nobody could come and help take care of those kids, and the kids were nameless, faceless, unless there is something that someone can come and testify to say they didn't even know that Kelli had kids, then maybe I would believe it. But as far as her relationship with the people of Pontiac, baby, she may as well have been single out here with no kids, because nobody was checking for those kids. Now people are taking care of the kids, and this is absolutely ridiculous. Look on your screen, hun. Kelli Marie Bryant, the mom from Pontiac. And we've got the Kelli Marie Bryant playlist up top. So yes, this is the mother who had her kids up in that filthy house and malnourished, kept. It's like, you want us to care about that you have a medical condition, but you left uh adolescent teens to fend for themselves with no hygiene products, no sanitary napkins. You got girls probably starting their menstrual. You've got a boy from 10 to 15 years old fending for sisters. They did not have adequate clothing. They didn't have toilet paper. They barely had water. They did not have clean beds. These kids are traumatized. What do you need to be out in the world for? And nobody I mean, like, I'm going over the top here, but nobody's hiring her. Thank you for supporting Leo lady. I appreciate you. She didn't do what she didn't do walk like Sonya. She was going to do it on day. She didn't do WOK like Sonya. I'm not sure what you're talking about, sis. My bad. I clicked on it late and then I didn't read the comment. So it's going over my head. But yeah, it's just absolutely ridiculous. If no one else knew, I'm sure her parents did. It's like, where are your kids? Where are your kids? I'm sorry. Most of us know this. And if you don't know this, if you're a mom to be or kids are in your future, one day when you become a mother, people become less interested in you as a person. If you didn't know that, I'm going to just tell you that now. People will see you and they immediately ask for your kids. How's it? Girl, where's so and so? They just naturally, they're going to ask you about mini you before they ask about you. You understand? It becomes just like when you're with your boo, it becomes less about you and it becomes us. How's so and so? How's sir? Right? People want to know how your little slice of pie is doing. whether it's your man, whether it's your kids, your dog, all of those things. People that know you and love you and care about you are going to be inquiring about what they know is important to you. And if nobody is asking about the kids, well, guess what? They're not important. And I'm not saying that they're not, because we know they are. But clearly, if people felt like these children were important, they wouldn't have been cooped up in a house for 5 years in a pile of shit and garbage and no clothes and all kinds of horrific conditions. I cannot imagine. The first thing I thought of was like, gosh, these girls are like 12 and 13 and they got to be getting their menstrual cycles, how painful that is, the cramps. You think that boy can explain to them what they're going through? He don't know. He's going through his version of puberty himself. Then they have no food, they have no hygiene, they have no showers, they had no bathtub. It's like they may as well have been living out in the woods. Do they even know how to operate the heater? Do they know how to read? It's awful. She's awful. She really doesn't deserve anything. I don't think anyone's coming with $50,000 unless she has a very rich pimp. I'm going to just say, unless this lady was actually selling that putty cat for a good amount of money, which is possible, because if you go in the playlist, we saw her Facebook and it was giving traffic. Okay. Maybe, maybe not. I could be wrong. I'm just giving my opinion. It was giving traffic. And if she has a contact, if she got somebody out there who has that type of cash to put up for her, then maybe she'll get out. I don't know. But she doesn't need to be. She really doesn't need to be. She needs to go ahead and settle on in because she's gonna get some, definitely gonna get some time. Okay. What else did I need to show you? I think that's it. Yeah, because we're getting ready to be, I will be coming back for sure, for sure. We need to do our little Nesto videos, but this was a Jarvis catch up. If you're just now coming in at the beginning, there was some coverage regarding Jarvis. We had talked about it much earlier. I put out a short video to give you those updates. Unfortunately, there was no one who was live in court today. However, the cameras at CBS were there and they gave us an update. Luckily, we had a contact in the court who gave us some of that information early. So we're all up to date now. Jarvis, let me take this off the screen. Mr. Butts is in the midst of his trial situation, and Sir is booked for trial in October. Does that seem fast for us? I mean, at the end of the day, Nazaya went missing in January of 24. It's been a year. By October, we'll be looking at almost 2 years, right? So it's on track. 2 years from the time that an incident could have occurred. I feel like that's right on track. You know, that's hitting the 2 year time period. So he'll be all right. He's got a sentence he's serving out anyway on that gun charge, and his next court date is June 20th. Miss Kelli is, let me get a close up. Miss Kelli, she's got court on April 15th. Okay. Sis has court on April 15th. And it's escaping me what time, but I will go back, listen, and add it to our Bougie Gang court calendar. So we can follow this case along with the other. Yes, I'm sure the prosecutor is ready. Yes. Yeah. Tina Ripley. And Tina is handling that business for Brandy Pierce. Okay. Miss Brandy. As soon as I see the dates posted for Miss Brandy, we'll be making sure to follow up with Miss Brandy as well. Okay. Brandy has a playlist too. Okay. Check the description box. All of the playlists are in the description box. If you're on Facebook, come on over to YouTube and get you some. Everything is in the feed, but I don't know. I think you can do playlists now, but I might be too far gone on Facebook to get that playlist popping, but I'm gonna go ahead and start some. But yeah, that's years and years and years of no playlist over there, but I do see where you can do a playlist now, so I might have to. when I have some time. We didn't need that close up bougie, but thanks. Ah, sis. Okay. Um, Miss Ma'am, Miss Ma'am has court, and she needs to understand that these prosecutors are not playing. Okay. Especially when you have a high profile situation, um, the public want answers. They want answers. They want follow up. They want to know that there's been punishment, because a lot of us spend a lot of time following the rules and doing what we're supposed to do. And then when you've got outliers out here who are taking advantage of the kindness and just, you know, of the public, and you are out here playing in our faces like you're doing what you're supposed to be doing. Meanwhile, you've got 3 kids living in their own personal hell, hungry, not adequate clothing, no education, no love, no guidance, no discipline, no nothing. Nothing that shows anybody cares. People aren't happy about that at all. Like it's very heartbreaking to know that these children had to deal with this, not for a day, not for a week, not for a month, not for a year, but year on top of year on top of year. She really is despicable. It's like, don't even let this little innocent look fool you. I mean, I'm not normally this harsh, but I really do feel like, to the people of that city of Pontiac, she was sitting up there playing in y'all's faces, pretending like she was actually a real mom. Maybe collecting benefits. I don't even know. But at the end of the day, just like the attorney said, the prosecutor, and she wants us to have sympathy or take into consideration what she got going on. Meanwhile, these 3 children hadn't seen a doctor, a checkup, a hot meal, a bath, a nice gown to sleep in, um, a good pair of shoes, some dunks, some jeans, their hair combed. When I heard about their hair was severely matted. These kids hadn't had their hair combed. Just the basics, guys, the basics. Awful. Let's see. Is that where Butts trial? Is that where Butts trial? Oakland County? No, Butts is in Wayne County. Let me pull this up real quick. I think I had the docket pulled up. Hold on. And then I'm gonna let y'all go. Okay. Because I gotta go get Boo Boo from school. Oh, you guys. Mm. PW, do you want to call in? I think PW was here. PW, did you want to take a minute? I got you. If anyone else wants to call in, we can talk later on this evening because I got time. But I know PW, I owe PW from yesterday. She had to answer her door, and we were talking to Willow, and then Sis had to go back to work. So if PW, if you want to hit the link, I got some time for you if you want to go ahead and hit it. And then we can get back. You guys can, if you guys want to call in tonight, that's fine. This evening, I already set the live up for 5:30. All right, let me just. Okay, the docket. I don't know if the docket's going to be updated, but Jarvis is in Wayne County. He's in the 3rd Judicial District. It's Judge Hathaway now is the new judge. So Judge Sabri heard the preliminary hearing. She's pretty amazing. I would have loved for it to stay with her, but I don't want to say unfortunately, because this guy could be very good too. It's nice to see the different judges and their styles of managing their courtrooms. So let's see, Jarvis. Okay, so this is what let me show y'all. Hey PW. let me show them this real quick. This is the docket. And these are his various cases. This one says final, closed, open, 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 open. Look at this. Let me pull this down so I can show y'all better. Y'all see this, baby? This is the firearms case, the number 3. This one, this is what he's in jail for right now. So if you're wondering, well, why was he already in jail? He was in jail because he'd already broke the law. He was a convicted felon with a firearm, and then he's got all these cases. Naziah is not the only one. There's 2 other cases that he is pending trial for. And look at all that. Out of order, completely out of order. He's out here a complete fool and playing. He's also out here playing in people's faces too. Okay. He was out here playing in the people's faces. And these are his cases right now. Okay. These 4 are what they are, what he's currently being heard on. Okay. And that's in Wayne County. Okay. Okay. PW, what do you say, hun? What you got going on, babe?
Hey, Bougie, thank you.
Hey, how are you? Happy
I'm good.
Friday.
Yeah, happy Friday to you too. What a week. Um,
Yes. But the
uh,
receipts are receding, girl. They're keeping us informed on this week. We're getting the information we need to know about what's going on with some of these cases. So I'm happy about that.
I know that's right. So yesterday, with the video and the information that you showed us, well, the first one was the tech support type situation. I don't know what it is about your channel and maybe like one other channel that I watch. It seems like when I go in and if I don't
Oh,
actually
that. Okay. I was like, wait a second, what were we talking about? Okay. Yes, ma'am. I got you. I'm caught up. Okay.
when I go in and close, if I don't close YouTube all the way out and let it open up with the little line going across the screen, then I can chat probably. I can say hello and maybe do like 2 comments and then my comments stop showing. So I
Have you
think
ever hit the help button to see if YouTube knows anything, like, or just to call it out? Because it could be, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm going to be honest with you. I've
like
had,
her just it's just your channel and one other one. I don't know
okay.
why. I really don't. But that always works though. I guess I never hit the help button because that works.
So you
Uh,
would tell everybody what you do. If you notice a glitch when you're trying to chat, PW, tell everybody what you do and that works for you.
okay, so if you notice that you start to chat and then like suddenly you just don't see your comments, then what I do is I close all the way out of YouTube. And what I mean by close all the way out of YouTube, I minimize the screen, I close YouTube down, and then I guess, well, on my phone, I'm an Androider. So I swipe up, and so it's like close, close. So when I press the YouTube app again, then the little YouTube line will go across the screen, and then it like brings it up all over again.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So you
and
actually
then
close the app. You swipe it. We do that too on iPhone. So you swipe up the app and just you close it. So when
yeah,
when you're clicking on it, you're opening it fresh. It's fresh.
fresh,
Okay.
yeah. And but
And
once
that
I'm back,
helps it.
it doesn't do it anymore.
Let
But
me
it took me
ask you this.
long
Do you
before
have background refresh on, like, in your app settings? Because it sounds like, because YouTube is always updating and so is Google. Do
right.
you do you have background or what do they call it? Background app refresh? Like, are your apps or is your phone set to automatically refresh, not with just updates, but just that it's not stagnant? Like when you open it, it's just kind of staying in the place where you opened it, because there are apps where when you open it, yes, you're doing maneuvers and you're moving around, but it's operating at that point, at that moment that you open that app, rather than at background refresh. there's a mechanism in your app that is always refreshing and updating the app as it's in use, right?
Right.
If you have that function enabled in your phone, look at us being all tech supporty.
Yeah.
Do you know if you've got background refresh on?
I'm pretty sure I do on my the apps that I use the most. So YouTube is one of those apps. Now my phone, um,
Yeah,
yeah,
check your phone settings and your app settings. Sometimes those are two different things. The way your phone functions is one thing, but also check your app functions. So if you know your app functions are set, just make sure your phone has your app operating in that way too, that it's like synced up. Because
got you.
sometimes notifications, you've got app notifications, you've got system notifications actually in YouTube when you go to settings. When you go to YouTube, there's settings. Then there's your app settings, and then there's your phone settings. There's like 3 different sets of settings for notifications.
I
Uh,
definitely need to check my phone settings. I know when it gets ready to do an update, I don't let it do it automatically. I have it to where it has to notify me. And then I'll actually manually do it. Most of my stuff
mhm,
I like to manually do, but in my apps I do know YouTube, I don't mind if it runs and runs and runs. And but I do know that I did find that mighty curious. I don't know what it is. I just don't, and I can't even remember how long ago it happened before. And sometimes it just doesn't happen if I go into YouTube. It just doesn't start to do that on your channel because I'll forget, and then I'm just typing away. But
mhm.
uh, like when you say you don't see a mod doing anything, yeah, because that's true. I know sometimes people believe like, okay, yeah, right. No, it really is true. YouTube, like you said, AI is probably doing that because of you need to change a word or not include a word or misspell a word so it won't catch it. But when you don't see it, and then and if you actually go on all chat, because somebody did bring up a good point yesterday, if you just only doing top chat, no, you're not going to see all the chat. But then if you do all chat and you don't see your stuff coming up, then you just need to close all the way out. But then
Mhm.
I'll whatever you just said too, we can check that and make sure it's refreshing.
Yeah,
Um,
go to your and so I'm an iPhone. So I went to how did I get here? So if you go to your settings and then you go to apps, you click on apps and then you find YouTube, you go all the way down to YouTube and then you pull up YouTube and it's going to say background app refresh. If you don't have that on, it's not refreshing automatically. It's more of a manual thing and it can have you stuck. And just as the people are working 24/7 at all of their centers, making minor changes, you could have entered YouTube at one particular moment and you're still operating off of that session that you created at that moment and it's not automatically refreshing for you. So you're just kind of stuck. It doesn't mean you can't get unstuck, but it's not automatically refreshing itself. You're gonna have to swipe down, close it out, and then go back in. So that could be something. Just to double check it. I may not be 100% right, but it's worth a check just to make sure.
to me, then if you don't have a place where you can delete your cache all at once or whatever, but at least try to delete it, ever so often when in apps that you use the most, um, and clean some of that out. But
Mm.
our tech support spiel.
Right. So what was the other thing? Did you have any comments about Jarvis from yesterday? I know uh
Yeah.
it's a look, there's a lot going on with that because we talked about that when we first started talking about the Naziah Harris case, is that I realized really quickly that there's like really two components to this situation that equally have a lot to talk about. There's the case, um which we get spoiled because we deal with a lot of parts of the country where we have documentation and we can read the motions and arrest reports and all of those things. And then there's just some parts of the case where you just don't get all that. You got to scour the internet to find the news stories and things. So Michigan is one of them where we don't always have paperwork to fall back on to read and see what the law enforcement is saying or what the prosecutors are doing and things like that. And then there's the family drama.
So much,
Are
man.
you watching that?
Well, I noticed it been quiet for a little bit. So when you actually did um post that yesterday and when showed us yesterday, I was like, oh my gosh, they're still going. Um,
Girl.
and I do think that that whole Facebook thing that they did with Roxy and I forget the guy's name, but
Mark from 7 Mile.
yeah. I don't know what well, Roxy, I know she's not I mean, she's new to this and according to her, this has brought her to the forefront so she could help, help people, but y- you're still the same person. So you haven't quite built a brand and you haven't even been out long enough for people to really trust you other than just knowing that you are a relative of somebody that people have grown to really care about, a story that people have grown to really care about. So you can't be on your Facebook laughing and kikiing up and talking about the coochie points your cousin trying to score with a single man, by the way. So who cares if she did want him or not? Nobody cares.
Right. I
That's
think she said she was single too. Not that that makes a difference because she said it didn't happen, but yes, both were single adults.
not a scandal.
That's not a scandal.
Right. So who cares about that? You
Mhm.
should actually be trying to really, anytime her face is in the public, if she really wants this nonprofit or this, I don't know what she's going to do. Like you said, it's going to be really difficult to get a 501(c) if you're out here. Then I don't know if it was you or the video I watched yesterday when you said you was over at the other place. So I went over there to the other place and watched her video, which was very interesting. But yeah, people gonna want to
Oh,
know what
you're
that.
at a spiritual detective?
Well, I actually didn't get to watch
Oh,
hers
Miss
yet.
Tootie? Tootie
Hmm.
on okay, yes. Uh-huh.
Yeah, but yeah, and so unless the young lady yesterday who was on the call made the comment how she was telling people, yeah, it was her. She was telling people when they was asking about where the money going for the t-shirts. It said you don't ask
Mm,
is uh she named a brand. You don't ask them where that money goes, honey. People do want to know where that money goes because you claim all of this is for Nazaya. The brother already accused of enriching her own self in this process, and so she needs to make sure that she's on the up and up at all times. And I don't care. This is going to be a weight she may not want to carry. And just like with 7 Mile Guy, he's finding out that the publicity might be weighing down on him too. He has been doing it for a while, but there are certain things that people gonna put that pressure on you that you just might not realize that you can stand up to. I don't care how long you've been doing it, because obviously
I agree.
the
Mhm.
fame has gotten to him, and for him to actually use the example of a fast ass girl, 14-year-old walking out the door with some grown behind man, that was horrendous. That was low down. That was dirty. And I just said to myself, well, tell us how you really feel. 'Cause
I think it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouth. I'm gonna just go on a limb. I don't know the man at all, but I'm gonna go on a limb and say I don't know that he meant that in general, but it was said and it was crass and it was not the most thoughtful comment coming from someone who is been at the forefront of a peculiar situation similar to that because we all know that um you know the circumstances of the day when Nazaya went missing, but we all also know that there is no consent for a child who is engaged with any kind of inappropriate relationship with an adult. They are not in a position to make a decision. So whether they went willingly or not, there is no willingly with a child. You're not permitted to engage with a child, to set up rendezvous and times and dates and relationships and things of that nature. That's absolutely dead wrong. It's a crime coming and going. So
Was just around educating people and trying to undo the stereotype that they have against black girls as it is, calling them fast. But at the same time, I'm just like, I don't understand why. Well, I guess you can't expect for somebody who get high all day, every day. But he shouldn't have never said that. But I just think sometimes things like that happen for a reason. Because what I look like being a cancer nonprofit or supporter, and I've been out here advocating for treatments and all that, and then you hear me say, "Man, F them people that got cancer." Like, what? You just don't. Nobody. You can't just outright just say that against something that you
mhm.
actually was supposedly supporting for like over a year. And so I just realized that, some of these people is meant for this stuff to come out, is meant to expose, and all this back and forth that he was doing allegedly with Tootie, that his character showed up in a way with Roxy, because when you get two people together, when you get certain people together, they bring out the worst and the best in each other. So if that's how he want to talk on his quote unquote off time on somebody else's channel, I don't care what you go back and say on your channel.
Right. It's like if you had a congressman or senator who represents a disenfranchised or impacted community in some type of way, and they're out doing something insensitive and they get called out for it. It happens. So
Right.
it's one of those things where, um, look, I also think that we've seen this here on YouTube a lot. Sometimes people get way too personally involved with their subject matter. We
Awesome.
see that in the Nesto sector. There is a particular person who has, not just in this situation, but in others, and I'm not trying to just pick on somebody. I'm just going to say I'm just going to put my chest onto it. At the end of the day, there's a particular blogger who loves to make friends with her subject matter. And we cannot even think of a time where it hasn't came back to bite this person in the butt. So it's almost like we just gonna see it play out. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes people get too close with the topic at hand. And Mark, I think, does a great job. I mean, I like his podcast. I'm not gonna lie. I think he does a good job. I think he's if you were watching on Love Lies and Lace Fronts, we pulled up his podcast before we even knew before I want to speak for myself, before I knew anything about Naziah, about those boys that were sleeping on the front porch.
Oh,
And I was like, wait a second, that's the same guy from that podcast. So I'd already become familiar with his podcast, and I think he does a good job. At the end of the day, it's not typical that you're going to become friendly with the people that you're reporting on. So he went from them being subject matter to actually becoming personally involved,
right.
and building a friendship. And then the friendship, maybe even becoming a little confidant somewhat, and being Roxy's friend, and they're hanging out and she's sharing additional information that he might not have been privy to, just covering the story like the rest of us. And
Right.
having that information also can have you formulate your, different opinions from the rest of the bloggers out here who might not have that information. So he might feel like he's totally okay in how he feels and what he's saying, but understand we're not privy to what you know. Because he says there's a lot of stuff you guys don't know. Well, he might not have known all of that had he not gotten personally involved with this family, and having additional relationships with people. And I'm not saying anything other than like friendships or colleagues or whatever. Most of us are not friendly with our subjects, like we see over what's going on with Sonya and Nesto and a particular blogger on YouTube. It's dangerous. It can be dangerous because also you want to report to your audience, but just understand when you're friends with someone, it's hard to give your opinion. If What if one day you
Right.
wake up and your opinion is not it's not you know what I mean? It's not aligning anymore with the people who you're now friends with. Like all of a sudden
Yeah, and you
you
have to make
realize like, hey, there's, you might want to chill or whatever, kind of thing.
sure that you've built absolutely. Yeah, you're right. And that you've actually built a level of professionalism that you do know how to separate it, because there's a way to make people feel really comfortable around you and actually want to confide in you, but while you still stand independently, or that you actually still are unbiased in certain ways. And yeah, so yeah, it was more like a family type conversation, like kitchen table talk that they were doing, but in public. But what Mark needs to understand is that's your brand. Like, you are now bigger than what you were. So you are actually impacting more people. Don't get wrapped up in this red flag family, because the whole entire family, like I've heard people say, throw them all away. Who cares? um,
Mm. Mm.
yeah, some good people and some better intentioned people in that family.
Mhm.
Don't get it twisted. That whole family line got a little bit of something going on. Because even when you're talking about Roxy, what qualifies you for people to trauma dump on you? Like, how are you going to bring these people back out of, if they sit here and they tell you all their trauma? Like, how are you qualified to help those people?
I almost felt like, so to your point, I almost felt like, so the other night on TikTok, not last night, but the night before last, she did like a live on TikTok and I played a few minutes for everybody like 2 nights ago,
Mhm.
or 2 days ago. Or was it yesterday? It was yesterday. So it happened the night before last. Anyway, you're right. Like, she got people to talk about particular trauma. I almost feel like, and I know I'm speculating at this moment, but this is the vibe I got. She was low key talking about her family. She's mad because Jernell and Kiwana were talking about the business over on Spiritual Detective, and she didn't like it. So she decides, hey, I'm going to do a talk on um generational curses. Now, she didn't go in depth. I guess the low hanging fruit was that she could be talking about Annette, or she could be talking about sexual abuse. I don't know. She could just be talking about uh family not getting along, family feuds. I don't know. Like, she didn't go in depth on what generational curse specifically, but it was an open dialogue on generational curses and people were calling in and stuff like that. I just felt like, low key, girl, I don't know that this was a good time, because at the end of the day, if it's very important for you to bring justice for Naziah, not saying that she needed to get into all that topic either, it's just a little bit much. It seems to be a little bit of leveraging a very bad situation. And me personally, because I am older than them, but maybe a similar age to the older girls. At the end of the day, this is a time that you spend in prayer, contemplation, supporting family. You got not only adults who are missing a very beautiful young lady, but you got the children who they grew up with. You got, is it Janiyah,
Mm,
Shannon's daughter? They
yeah,
say Janiyah and Zaniyah were peas in a pod.
right,
How do you think she feels with her bestie? I don't know if they shared rooms, whatever. These girls, like, these kids are missing someone.
right,
And you got people on the outside of the household. You got Shannon, dealing with Jarvis still, I guess that's what they say. Annette getting hamburgers thrown at her on the streets with the kids, getting her picture taken in the grocery store. Like, these kids are going through a lot. They're seeing this stuff happening, and they're also missing their cousin. But you're on TikTok trying to trauma bond with strangers, my opinion, low key talking about your family.
basically,
It's just not appropriate. I just feel like it's just not appropriate. It's like a little bit like, this is not the time. You know how they say not the time, not the place? How they say
right.
sometimes on the Real Housewives, not the time, not the place. Like, this isn't the moment to be doing all that.
Because
all of a
basically,
sudden you want to be a social worker. Like we're, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, when you claim you really couldn't get social services, I know one of them did. But yeah, if that's the case, then uh advocate for something like that, like all the services that are in place that actually failed Naziah as well. Just
yeah, shine a spotlight on CPS. Ask people of the Wayne County. Ask the people of Wayne County to reach out to you if you've had a CPS claim and nobody followed up, and makes light a fire up under that, because that could help a lot of people.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, people trying to jump
CPS claims that have gone like no, you know what I mean, no action. And make CPS answer to some more claims, like where maybe a wrong decision was made. And shouts out and respect to the people at CPS, because they do a hard job. But at the end of the day, there are some cases where lives have been lost, or kids are in danger. Look at Zamar Pierce, okay, Brandy Pierce's son, said that his mom had threatened him and he was afraid for his life, and look what happened.
my.
You know what I'm saying? So that's another case right there. um PW, what else do you want us to know? Because I gotta get on mom duty, but I'll be back in a couple of hours. We'll do some Nesto stuff.
Say before we did move on is to piggyback off of what you said about the other individual who trying to get into this. This Detroit smoke ain't what you want. Now,
No.
you done been places, you done seen some things, but these people are real serious. If anything, she need to listen to some of them calls and shows that Mark has done in his archive and see
Well,
how.
we're not helping her. We're not helping her. So,
But yeah, this
because
was
she might be in the, yeah.
and very well so. But
Hmm.
good riddance, good,
Let her do her own research. That's what I'm gonna say. Would she? Let's help her like this. Do your research. It was interesting. Someone on her show said, like, literally, and she was reading the comment and said that she needed to do some more research.
this is nicely as you can put.
You know what? I like people that make you do better work. I love to be held to a standard. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like that my audience holds me to, Fran, you didn't say that right, or Fran, it's pronounced this, or Fran, I've got this information, or you know what I mean? Like, I like that because I like to provide accurate, precise information. Um so I like that. I don't take that as a negative at all. I feel like that shows that you guys are paying attention, you guys are engaged. So I think that's very cool. Some people take offense to that, but most people, don't. Um so is it Cape M Privacy M? Especially when it's a local thing. So I guess specifically when you drop that comment regarding like what's going on. So the local people in Detroit obviously feel away. It feels away if you're miles and miles away, but I can only imagine if you're in the city hearing about all of these awful stories going on, how it doesn't have an effect on the people of the city. Not even just Naziah, but just all the things happening. Sometimes it can feel like a pile on, but at the end of the day, I think the people are showing Detroit a lot of love because people are interested. Don't think for a minute that we're paying attention because people care. It's when these
Right.
stories come out, no one's giving any attention. People are paying attention. They're talking about it because they actually care. So it's a good thing. But yes, if you're going to come, you know what I mean? And I think anywhere, just out of respect, come with as much respect and accuracy as you possibly can to give the story life, not to cause the story harm. Right?
Yeah. Anytime it involves a child, just like in South Carolina, them
Period. Yeah.
not no Susan Smith. If somebody had a tried to let her back out on these streets, but yeah, them people still can't stand her. So yeah, you can't do that about children. So these
No.
stories different. These stories
Mm.
really hit different.
Yeah.
And
Because I
that's like,
mean, and there's also adults out here that have been through some things, and it reminds you, it takes you back. So, but
right.
yeah. I wish I do I'm going to say I wish the family the best. I appreciate Kawana and Janelle very much. I mean, I see what Roxy is doing, but I don't know that she's getting the best advice, and we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes. I just wish, like a lot of people, that she would take a deep breath, everybody, and just remember, like, is this helping or hurting? If this is going to help, let me do it with the best intention. But if it's possibly I'm doing this because I want it to hurt, don't do that. Just leave that private. You know what I mean? But we will talk about it. Trust and believe. We might still talk. It might make it to an episode, but at the end of the day, it may not be the best thing.
Thank you so much, Bougie. I appreciate it.
Okay, PW. Thank you, hun. All right, you have a good weekend. I'll see you later. I'll be back in a few hours.
All right, I'll be here.
Okay, y'all. Y'all take care. Please hit the thumbs up for me. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe to this channel. So when I go live, post another video, do all of the things, you will be notified immediately. This live will roll you into the next one. Just go ahead and hit the notify me button. That way, if we are notification challenged later, you will get your notification as soon as I hit the go live button. Okay. All right, guys. And we'll have some kikis later. So this one I know was a little on the serious side, but that's okay. Okay. We will be back to lighten the mood a little bit and have a few laughs. Okay. Get your comments down below if there's anything you'd like for me to talk about, anything you think I missed. And then we'll talk about it later. Okay. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. Okay. Bye, guys.